Hello Internet, Anti-Void here, and today I am going to be showcasing you a Digimon Card Battle game known as Digimon Battle Evolution. So what is Digimon Battle Evolution? Digimon Battle Evolution is a continuation in spirit of the PlayStation 1 game Digimon Card Battle. If you've ever had the pleasure of playing that game, it is really fun, really strategical. However, this game is a revamped version with extra added Digimons that weren't available at the time of that game, with updated rules to make it more fair and more balanced, but at the same time adding way more strategy to the game through the use of option cards and your Digimon in various ways. So today I'm going to talk you through some various aspects of the game as a tutorial. So the first thing that I will talk through is what makes a deck, so the types of cards that go into a deck and the number of them you can play. And then I will move along and talk about the actual gameplay itself and how to actually play a game of Digimon Battle Evolution. So let's start things off with the most primary type of card that will be involved in your main deck, and these are Digimon cards. So Digimon cards look like this. They have a Digimon on them, in this case Agumon, and on a Digimon card you can see in the top right hand corner you'll have a little R, a little C, a little U, or a little M, and that just tells you the level of your Digimon. So if you don't know, Digimon start off as their weakest form, known as a rookie Digimon, which is what the R stands for. Rookies then evolve and digivolve, get stronger, and turn into their champion form, which is sort of like a middle stage. And then they evolve once more into an ultimate form, which is the strongest stage, aside from one where some Digimon can evolve into a mega level, which is the most powerful type of Digimon, aside from maybe some fusions. But yes, so Digimon cards, they're the Digimon that will be attacking, dealing damage, and fighting alongside you. You can run 4 copies of any Digimon card in your deck, except for your Mega. You can only run 1 Mega in your deck, and you have to pick it at the start of the game. You can't just like play 5 Megas and evolve once sort of thing. It's just pick 1 Mega, and that's your deck leader essentially. It's the primary goal is to become your Mega. Everything else you can run at 4. Now note that if a Digimon has the same name, so for example, we have Greymon here. So Greymon is a dragon type Digimon who is a champion level, but if I wanted to run 4 of him, I could also run 4 of this Greymon, which is a metal type and is slightly different, has some different effects, some different stats around it. And it also means I could run 4 Geo Greymon, whose name is treated as Greymon, at 4 as well. So I could technically run 12 Greymon, so long as they're different cards. It doesn't have to matter about the name, it's more 4 of each specific Digimon. So that's just something to bear in mind. As you progress through the game, you'll start on your rookie, you will evolve to champion, you will evolve to ultimate, and ultimately you will evolve into your mega level Digimon, and duke it out against an opponent who's trying to do the same. And trying to get a whole bunch of KO points, which I will come to later on. It's the win condition of the game. So the next major type of card that you will see in Digimon Battle Evolution are option cards, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen here. In fact, I'll just make them in the center. So option cards look like this. So they say option in the top left hand corner, which is how you know they're an option card. And they typically have an effect that's called support. Digimon have support as well. It's at the bottom of the card. Basically, during the battle, you may support with 1 card from your hand, and it has a special effect. So in this case, Mega Chip makes you trash 4, which means sending 4 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, or from the top of your deck to the trash, sorry, which is what it's calling trash 4. And then you boost your own power by 600, which is a lot in this game. If you look at, for example, Greymon, his power is 600, so you're effectively doubling a champion level power. You can see his power on the bottom right hand corner in the circle. That's his strongest attack. Option cards you can run 3 of in a deck each. Again, similar to Greymon, if there was an option card that had the same name but was different, you could run 4 of each. Currently there isn't, but that's just a thing you should know in case there is in the future. Option cards, however, have some subtypes, and the first subtype is called Firewall. So it's a Firewall option card. You can see it's a firewall by the top of the card. These typically have very powerful effects that usually void opponents' supports. Voiding is like negating, if you're familiar with things like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or nullifying an effect, if you're familiar with something like Vanguard. And you can only run 3 firewalls in your deck. Now note, that isn't 3 of each firewall, that's just 3 firewalls period, so you have to pick them very carefully. You could run 3 of the same firewall, or you could run a variety of different firewalls. It's entirely up to you when you build your deck. And the final type of option card is an ace option card. Note that ace cards can also be other types, like this evolution one down here that I'll talk about in a second. But an ace card, you may only run 1 ace card in your deck. That's, again, not 1 of each, just 1 period. And they typically have really powerful game-winning effects that can swing the tide of battle in your favor. For example, this one just basically makes your opponent's HP minimal, so you can just one-shot kill them, which is very powerful and strong. The third type of card you will have in a Digimon deck is an evolution card. You can only run 2 of each evolution card in your deck. Evolution cards aren't necessary to evolve, but they sort of aid you in getting there. They sort of make it easier for you to evolve to the next stage, even though you don't particularly need them. And again, you can have an ace evolution card, which does the same sort of thing. It helps you get to the next stage, except sometimes it's a bit more extra powerful. So for example, this one lets you evolve to a Digimon from your deck, ignoring its cost and its type, and then recovering your HP as well, which is phenomenal for a card. Again, that's an ace card, which is why it's so powerful. And the final type of card that you will find in your deck is called a proxy. So you can find out if it's a proxy because it has a little P in the top left-hand corner. I don't know if you can see it underneath the word option, there's a little yellow P. They can be evolutions or options so far. There currently isn't a Digimon proxy. What proxies do are, in the game you have what is called your partner Digimon, so when you deck build you'll pick 1 rookie level Digimon and it will be your partner. So for example, if Agumon was my partner, I could discard my Agumon and transform it into my proxy card, which is, in this case, Whistle or Matrix Evolve. You can only play, well, you can play as many proxy cards in your deck as you want, but there is a separate zone called the Destiny Zone, where you can run 1 proxy in that Destiny Zone, and that's what your partner can transform into if you so need it. Final type of card, which I know I said this was the final type of card, but usually you don't see these in a deck, is data cards. You can only play a data card if it matches your Mega level Digimon, or if the Mega level Digimon you have lists your data Digimon in its evolution box requirements. So for example, if Omnimon was a card, I could play this Wargreymon data. Also, if Wargreymon was my Mega, I could play this Wargreymon data because they both need Wargreymon, for example. Data cards generally have extremely powerful effects at the cost of sacrificing your Mega for the rest of the game. So you just delete your Mega and get a really powerful effect. In this case, you gain power equal to 200 times your own hand size. So like I said earlier, 600 power was a lot. Imagine having 5 cards in your hand and gaining 1,000 power, so it's quite strong is that ability, but at the cost of losing Wargreymon for the rest of the game. They typically also have a secondary effect which doesn't sacrifice your ultimate, but it's a bit more weaker. In this case, attaching a card from your deck. So there are cards that are option cards that are sort of like equip spells if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! They attach to your Digimon and give them various effects. They're a little bit slow, so it's quite good that you can just immediately attach something from your deck at any point. It's very good. But yeah, as I said, you can only run one of each data card, and only if your Mega corresponds to it or has the Mega in its evolution box requirements. So I didn't mention it earlier, but Digimon, if you look at Greymon here, at the very top have what's called an evolution box, and it tells you 2 or 3, sometimes just 1 Digimon that gains a special bonus if you evolve from it. So for example, if this Greymon evolves from an Agumon, it will gain 100 HP and it will cost 10 less points to evolve. So those are all the various types of cards that you can play in a deck. So how do you build a deck? So a deck is comprised of 50 cards, so you can run 50 of any cards. There is no specific requirements for the types of cards you need to run in a deck, just a limit on each card. You also have a separate zone known as the Destiny Zone, which counts towards your 50 card limit, and it can have anywhere between 0 and 4 cards in it. So what goes into a Destiny Zone? So a Destiny Zone contains, firstly, your proxy card, like I mentioned earlier. So say it was Whistle, this is my proxy card. It can contain 2 champion level Digimon that list your partner Digimon in its card text. So for example, if my partner was Agumon, I could have both this Greymon and not this Greymon, because this one doesn't have Agumon as a requirement, but I could run this Greymon in my Destiny Zone. So these two could both go in my Destiny Zone and be my champion level Digimon. And what that does is if I were to play my partner as my active Digimon, I can immediately Digivolve into one of the Digimon from my Destiny Zone without paying any costs, and I get all the benefits listed in the evolution box. So in this case, I'd get 100 HP if I evolved into Greymon. So that's a real nice benefit. It lets you kind of have a couple of tech options up your sleeve. Also, the cards in your Destiny Zone don't actually count towards the limit of the cards in your deck. So if, for example, if I had 4 Greymon and 4 Geo Greymon in my deck, I could also run 2 extra copies, 1 each, in my Destiny Zone. And the final card that goes in your Destiny Zone is your Mega Level Digimon. I suggest you probably always have a Mega Level Digimon, just because they're extremely powerful. Even just to if you ever reach it, it's just super strong to be on. But that's what makes your Destiny Zone up to 4 cards. You could have less. You don't have to run a Mega. You don't have to run 2 champions. You could run 1. You could run none. You don't have to have a proxy. You could have it completely empty. All that matters is that once you have made your Destiny Zone, it plus your main deck has to equal 50 cards. The final type of card I'll talk to you about is the Partner Digimon, which I told you about before. At the beginning of deck building, you pick 1 rookie level Digimon to be your partner. You can only run 1 copy of that Digimon in your deck. So if I wanted to play 4 Agumons because I liked its support ability or because I wanted it for its utility or something, it's probably not a good option to pick for my partner. If you have a sort of weaker Digimon that doesn't have very good effects, you could probably run it as a one-of and use it as your partner instead and get some better tech options in there without losing any utility in your deck, if that makes sense. So that's how you make a deck. 50 cards, potentially 1 partner, you don't need a partner, potentially 4 cards in the Destiny Zone, and then up to 4 of each Digimon, 3 of each option, 2 of each evolution, and then 1 of each ace. Sorry, one ace period or 3 firewalls period. So that's how you build a deck. Next, I'm going to talk to you about how the gameplay works. So I'll see you in just a second. Right, okay, I am back. Hello, everyone. So this is how the gameplay works. This is what the game mat looks like. This is the area you play the game in. You have several zones on the map. You have your deck zone, which is where your main deck will lie. You have your Destiny Zone, which is where your Destiny deck will lie. You have an Evolve Zone, a DP Zone, an Attack Zone, an Active Zone, a Support Zone, an Attach Zone, and your Trash, which is your discard pile. I'll explain each of the other zones that I kind of skipped over as I show you how a game progresses. So the first things that you do in a game, before the game even starts, is you first have to reveal your Destiny Zone to your opponent. They have a chance to look through it and verify all the cards in them, so they can see, oh hey, your 2 champions correspond to your partner, you have a cool proxy that you might use and spring on me in the game, you have your Mega level Digimon, or they're like, oh, you're playing a War Greymon deck, so it's probably Dragon orientated, and then you can start to formulate a game plan around that. And then the same thing for my opponent, I would look at his Destiny Zone and take a look at all those cards as well. We then both reveal our partner cards to each other and say, hey, my partner is Agumon. Maybe they go, hey, my partner is Gabumon. And we then know for the entirety of the game, whenever I play my Agumon, I can access my Destiny Zone and do some cool stuff with it. Next, you look at your deck and you take out cards until you only have 40 cards left in your deck. So if you don't have a Destiny Zone, you'll take 10 cards out. If you have a full Destiny Zone, you'll take 6 cards out. And if you have anywhere in between, you could take 7, 8, or 9 cards out, just so long as you have 40 left in your main deck. So in this case, I'm going to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now note, they don't have to be the 6 top cards of your deck like I just did there. I'm just doing this for the sake of teaching. Generally, in this pile, which is now referred to as the side pile, you want to remove some cards that are good in the later game or are sort of tech choices for specific matchups that don't apply. So for example, if I had a card in my deck that was really good against nature Digimon, but I wasn't up against a nature deck, I could just remove it into the side pile. And what this does is it basically ensures I do not draw these 6 to 10 cards in my opening hand. And it means I can more consistently get to the good cards that I want to see on the first few turns, kind of delay the cards that that take a little bit longer to come online or aren't relevant for the current matchup. So yeah, you remove those 6 to 10 cards. I've removed 6 and I've gone down to 40 cards. You then shuffle up your deck. Your opponent will do exactly the same. You will then draw your opening hand of 5 cards. Let me just sit at the table so that I can draw my cards. So I draw 5 cards in my opening hand. Your opening hand is displayed at the bottom. Generally, you want a champion level Digimon that you can evolve to. You want a rookie level Digimon that you can put in your active zone, which is the center zone here. It's where your main Digimon goes. And you want something to help you evolve. This hand that I've just drawn is probably one of the worst hands you will ever see, because I don't have a single rookie in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put back these ultimates. So this is called performing an opening mulligan. So in the opening mulligan, you take any cards you do not want. In this case, I'll pick these 4. You put them on top of your side pile, and you draw the same number of cards off the top of your deck back. Now I've opened up some rookies, which is really nice. An extra champion, and I've got my Wargreymon data, which means I can perform a data break if I really want to. This hand's decent. It's not brilliant, but it's decent. So what happens after that is you take your new side pile, reunite it with your deck, if it lets me, and then you shuffle. So all those 6 to 10 cards that you removed at the start of the game go back into your deck, which means you can now draw them in the later stages of the game when you want them. It also means that the cards that you mulliganed away are now shuffled into your deck, and you can draw them later on rather than being put on the bottom or something so that you never see them again. So that's how you start the game. It's called the pre-prep phase. You've drawn your cards, you have a hand, you've got your deck ready, you've got your Destiny Zone ready, you've both verified each other's partners and each other's Destiny Zones. So the next phase is called the prep phase, and in any other game you might recognize this as sort of a draw phase in a way. It has drawing a card in it. So the first thing you do in your prep phase is you draw a single card from the top of your deck and add it to your hand. Now note that if you have 2 or less cards in your hand, you actually draw 2 cards in your draw phase, and so it can sometimes be quite strategic to lose a lot of your hand so you can draw extra cards and get more options and more choices for you to make in the game, rather than drawing 1 card a turn and only filling your hand with one extra choice in the game. So now that I've drawn my card for turn, I can do what is called a full mulligan. Now this differs from a opening mulligan in one key way. The first way that it differs is I can't choose the cards I'm mulliganing, I have to mulligan my entire hand. The second way that it differs is that instead of it going into a side pile and being shuffled back into the deck, the entire hand gets discarded into the trash, which is the graveyard of the discard pile. You then draw the same number of cards, and you can do this as many times as you want. And that sounds a bit powerful if you come from other games, but it's sort of a staple that was there in the original PlayStation 1 Digimon game, and they've kept it around, and it actually works really nicely because even though you can fill your hand with some really good cards, you actually can sometimes discard a lot of awesome cards to try and get there, so it's kind of balanced in a way. So for example, if I was to discard this hand, I would permanently lose my War Greymon data for the rest of the game unless I can get it back into my deck or my hand somehow with other cards. So I probably don't want to mulligan this hand unless it's absolutely rubbish and I can't get to my champion or ultimate levels in later stages of the game. In this case, I'm going to say I keep my hand. Next, if you have a rookie level Digimon in your hand, you probably want to play it in your active zone. You can play champions and ultimates immediately into your active zone, but if you do, they are referred to as abnormal. And what abnormal does is if you're a champion level, it halves all your stats, including your HP. If you're an ultimate level, it quarters all your stats, including your HP, which kind of brings them down to a rookie level sort of stats. It also means they cannot evolve without special effects allowing them to, which makes them incredibly weak because they can't get past that weak stage that they start at. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at our hand. We're going to see we have a Vidramon and a Greymon as our sort of champion levels options that we can go into. So Greymon costs, if you look in the top left hand corner, 40 Digivolution points to evolve to, and so does Vidramon. So it doesn't matter which one we pick really, it's going to cost us the same. But in the top, it actually tells us Greymon, if I use Agumon, Ryudamon, or Toyagumon, it costs 10 less. And for Era Vidramon, if it's Vmon, Ryudamon, or Dorumon, it costs 10 less. So in this case, I have both Ryudamon and Dorumon in my hand. And if you look at Ryudamon and Dorumon, they have 0 DP requirement, which means they can be played straight into the active zone at no cost. And they have a plus P value, which is 30 in Ryudamon's case, 20 in Dorumon's case. And what you do with this is you can use those points on the card by sacrificing them to Digivolve. And you can only rack up DP once per turn, so you kind of want to get the most value out of your P. So what we're going to do here is we're going to place Dorumon into our active zone, and he is going to be our Digimon of choice for this phase of the game. The second phase is called the Evolve phase. This is the phase where you can evolve. The way that this phase works is first you can, if you want to, you don't have to, rack up DP, which is, as I mentioned, some Digimon have a plus P value on their card. In this case, Ryudamon has 30, Dorumon has 20, Vidramon has 20, and Greymon has 10. So what this does is if I take Ryudamon, for example, and I put it into my plus DP zone, this adds its plus P value to my DP total. So right now, because Ryudamon is in my plus DP zone, I now have 30 DP to spend on evolving my Digimon. Now note, if I, on the next turn, decided to put this in here too, it would go up to 50, and so on and so forth. But you can only put one Digimon in there per turn. The second thing you can do during the evolve phase is play any evolution timing cards that you have in your hand. I don't currently have an evolution card in my hand, but just for the sake of showing what type of thing you could do, if I had Warp Digivolve in my hand, for example, it allows me to evolve from Rookie to an Ultimate in my hand. I don't currently have an Ultimate, but what you do is you put it in the Evolve zone and then follow what the text says and resolve it. So basically if this one said you can evolve from Rookie to Ultimate, that means when I evolve this turn, I can take an Ultimate from my hand and evolve it over Dorumon, which is really, really powerful. But I currently don't have an Evolve card, so we're going to ignore that for now. So the third part of this phase is actually Digivolving. So the first thing you do is you reveal the card in your hand that you can legally Digivolve to. So in this case, I have Dorumon on my active zone, and I have 30 Digivolution points, or DP for short. Now, if I reveal Greymon from my hand, that's invalid. I can't Digivolve to Greymon because Greymon costs 40 Digivolution points, and to reduce it to 30, I need an Agumon, or Ryudamon, or a Toyagumon on my active zone, which I currently don't have, so I cannot evolve into Greymon, unfortunately. Vidramon, on the other hand, I can evolve into, because even though it costs 40 DP and I don't have enough, its evolution box says that if I have Vmon, Ryudamon, or Dorumon, which I do have, it costs 10 DP less, which is signified by the DP minus 10 in its Digivolution box. So I would reveal Vidramon as a valid evolution target that I can evolve to my opponent and say, hey, I'm evolving to Vidramon. And then you will take any DP cards from your DP zone and send them to your trash. Note that even though this costs 30, if I had 50, 60, 100, 1000 DP in my DP zone, it would all get discarded to evolve. It doesn't matter how much you have in there, everything goes when you evolve. So I pay my DP cost, everything goes from my DP zone. You then activate your evolution box bonus and evolve into your champion or ultimate if you were going for ultimate level form, in this case Vidramon. So my evolution box bonus in this case is HP plus 100. So on every Digimon, on the right hand side, you can see that in the bottom right, there is a HP total, in this case 880. There is a circle value, a triangle value, and an X value, which are the 3 different attacks a Digimon can make. And I will talk about those more during the battle phase. In this case, Vidramon starts at 880 HP, but because it evolved from Dorumon and its evolution box bonus goes off, it permanently gains 100 HP. So it starts on 980 HP, which you can record on a calculator if you're playing on Tabletop Simulator or in real life. Okay, so we've talked about the evolve phase. You have now evolved into your champion level. If it's the first turn of the game, it's the end of the turn now. It goes to the end phase. The opponent gets to do his prep phase and his evolve phase, but let's pretend it's not the first phase of the game and go straight to the strategy phase. So let's pretend, for example, that my opponent has a Digimon on their active zone as well. We'll say they have a Palamon, and we enter the strategy phase. So what happens in the strategy phase? The strategy phase is a really strategic time, play on words, where you get to choose which of the 3 attacks that I mentioned earlier, so the circle, the triangle, or the X attack, and you choose it in secret from these cards here, and you place it face down in your attack zone. So you'd look at your cards, you wouldn't just grab one. In this case, I know where the circle is, so I'm putting it down. But basically, the difference between the types of attack are typically, circle is your most powerful attack. It will deal the most damage, it has the most raw power. Triangle is like a medium-ish attack, but it's more reliable than your circle because some Digimon have counters to circle. So I know that some Digimon can make other Digimon's circles turn to 0 or make them backfire on them. So triangle is like a reliable attack that isn't affected by those effects usually. And then X is your weakest attack typically, but it has a special ability tied to it. In this case, if Vidramon uses his X, he gets to attack first, which is really only relevant during the opponent's turn, because you should always attack first if it's your turn, unless it's an option card allowing your opponent to. So in this case, I've chosen Circle because my opponent does not have an ability that makes my Circle 0 or counters me. In this case, they would choose probably their X or their Circle. So their Circle is the most powerful attack, it would deal 370 damage to me, but their Drain deals 160 damage, sorry, their X has 160 damage and has the ability Drain, which would recover HP for them equal to the amount of damage they deal to me. So yeah, after you pick your attack in secret, so your opponent doesn't know what you've chosen, you enter what is called the support phase. So during the support phase, the non-turn player first chooses one card from their hand and places it into the support zone. So let's for example say that this Palmon supported with a Kunemon from their hand. The opponent's circle is 0, you recover your own HP 100 and you recycle 1 and shuffle. That's its effect. It's a pretty nifty effect. It's going to nullify my attack if I pick circle, but it doesn't resolve yet. Then the turn player picks an attack. So, picks a support. So what I'm going to do is I can either support from my hand, and the off-turn player can do that as well, or you can support from the top of your deck, and it's called a blind support. Because you take the top card of your deck and you put it face down in the support zone, so no one knows what it's going to be. It's a wild card, it's going to do something. You then both activate the effects of your support. The turn player's effect resolves first, which is relevant because if your opponent puts down a support and you don't like it, you can react to that with your own support. whereas they can't do that because it's not their turn. So that's why they get to play their support first. It gives you, as the turn player, a strategic advantage of knowing what's coming and how you should respond to it. In this case, in my hand, I didn't have anything that could respond to Kunemon, so I'm banking on my top deck doing something. So mine resolves first, and it flips face up, and it is a Ryudamon. Sorry, it's a Raptordramon, sorry, I misread that. So mine resolves first, and what it says is if both levels are the same, which they're not, then you boost your own power by 400. Now if the support ability isn't met, it's called a misfire, which means that the card just doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. And typically the only time a card misfires is if its condition isn't met, in this case both Digimon being the same level, or if it's not a support card. So for example, if I used my data from the top deck, it would just misfire itself because it doesn't do anything in the support zone. It doesn't have a support effect. So in this case, Raptordramon would misfire, and Kunemon would activate. So Kunemon would say, my opponent's circle is 0, you gain 100 HP, you recycle 1, you shuffle. So in this case, Palmon has 500 HP, so it would gain 100 HP and go to 600. My circle would drop to 0, and then they get to recycle 1 and shuffle, which means you take 1 card from your trash, I think it's the top of your trash, put it into your deck, and shuffle. So he gets to recycle 1. Unfortunately, we haven't got the game set up in a place where they'll have a trash, but generally by this point they should have at least 1 or 2 cards in their trash that they could recycle with a Kunemon, which is quite nice. So in this case, we then enter the battle phase, and we reveal each other's attacks to one another, and the turn player gets to attack first. So in this case, I would attack my opponent with a circle and deal 570 damage, which in normal circumstances would kill him. However, Kunemon has made my attack 0, using his opponent's circle as 0 support effect, which means I deal 0 damage to my opponent, which is not very good. Then the non-turn player deals their damage to me. In this case, they chose to use X, which means I take 160 damage, so you would reduce your HP by 160. And then any X effects resolve, in this case Drain, which means that she gains the damage she dealt in HP, so she gains that 160 and leeches it off me and gains some HP and becomes a bit more sturdy. And then it's the end phase. It goes back round to the prep phase, where it's your opponent's turn. They will draw for turn, they will play their Digimon, they'll attempt to evolve, etc, etc. Some key points to note: when you Digivolve, your HP resets. So if I evolved from Vidramon into something new, I would just automatically regain all my HP up to the maximum that is listed on the ultimate card that I evolved to. Same goes for my opponent if he wants to evolve. Second thing, you do not have to support. You don't have to play a card from your hand, and you don't have to blind support. You can just choose not to support. For whatever reason, there might be a reason you don't want to. Maybe your opponent's played a card that voids supports, and so you don't want to waste cards by supporting with a card that's just going to be negated anyway. So that's just something to keep in mind. So, how do I win a game of Digimon? So, when the phases go around and around and around, eventually one Digimon will get knocked out. Its HP will drop to 0, and when it does, you send it to the trash. Say my Digimon died for whatever reason, it would be sent to the trash, and my opponent would score 1 KO point. The first to 4 KO points wins the game. If you kill a Mega level Digimon, so say if I have my Wargreymon out and they killed it, they would gain 2 KO points and become a little bit closer to evolution. So to victory, sorry. So Mega level Digimon are sort of a double-edged sword. They're really powerful and really strong. But if they die, then it kind of costs you, and your opponent could just win outright if you evolve too late or too early. So it's kind of strategic when you pick to evolve to your Mega. To note as well, I said you evolve from hand. If you're evolving to Mega, you evolve directly from the Destiny Zone. One of the quirks to having a Mega level Digimon is you do not need to have the Digimon in your hand. You don't have to draw it. It's just always there for you to access. It's just once it dies, it gets deleted, which is kind of like removed from play. It's no longer in the game. It can't be used. It's gone forever. Some other things to note: Mega Digimon do not have support effects. They instead have activate or passive effects. So an activate effect is an effect they can use once per game at any time during their own turn. Passive effects are something that happen constantly when a condition is met. You can probably see them if you build your own decks. Generally, there aren't very many of them. And there's only very limited cards below Mega that actually have an activated effect. I think there's 2. So yeah, there's not many below Mega that do that. Final thing to note, when you evolve, I did mention the evolution box. You can evolve by evolution box, or you can evolve just to a Digimon of the same type by paying the full DP cost. So if at the start of the game I had my Ryudamon here, and I had enough DP, I could technically evolve into Greymon by paying its full DP cost, despite Greymon not listing Dorumon on its evolution box bonus. It's just you wouldn't get any of the extra HP, and you wouldn't get the Digivolution point reduction. So it's kind of recommended you follow the evolution box, but you don't always have to. You can Digivolve into something that doesn't list the evolution box. So yeah, that's how you play the game. You play until 4 KO points are scored, and then they win the game. All the ways to win include your opponent not being able to play a Digimon from their hand into the active zone when that active zone is empty. This is typically a win condition met by milling your opponent's deck out and then them being KO'd and not having another Digimon that they can throw out to play with. That is the only other way of winning the game, as far as I know. There may be more win conditions added in the future. There are various effects that I haven't covered in this tutorial, such as flattening and drain, which I covered very briefly, counter-attacks and voiding, but they can all be kind of explained in future gameplay videos. So I've recorded a couple of videos with a friend, and I can kind of show you my thought processes when I start playing, hopefully with a bit of energetic music in the background to get everyone pumped, and I'll burst up the cards in big, bold glory in the top right-hand corner of the screen or something, so you can see all the effects and maybe what phase it is and all that kind of stuff, so that you can kind of follow along. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial video. If you did, please give me a like, comment, subscribe if you want to. It would be very, very happy if you did. And if you enjoy Digimon, please give this a go. We're trying to expand the player base currently. There's very few of us that actually play at the moment, because as I said, this is a fan-made game. It is typically played on Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator costs £20, $20, €20, 20 of your national currency, but it very, very often goes on sale and drops to as low as 8 of your national currency, which is a very reasonable price considering it's not just Digimon you get to play on this game. It is any board or card game you want, which is very, very good. So I highly recommend you purchase the game even if you don't want to play Digimon. But yes, if you want to play Digimon, please, by all means, give the game a go, grab a friend, grab me if you want to. I'm happy to play against anyone new and teach you all the little tips and tricks that I picked up when I started playing. I will leave a link down below to the general rules website and the card gallery, so you can have a look at all the different cards if you don't want to go through all the fuss of finding the simulator or tabletop simulator. I will also leave a link to the Steam Workshop mod for this game so that you can have a play around with the cards if you have tabletop simulator yourself. And I will leave a link to the Discord if you wish to join the Digimon Battle Evolution Discord. Talk to myself, talk to the game's creator, Alice White and Zoey White. Those two worked on this game, made it very beautiful, made up all the effects, made it very balanced. So hats off to them. They've made a brilliant game, a brilliant continuing the spirit of the PlayStation 1 game that we all know and love. So a big thank you to them for making this card game a reality. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you next time, probably in a gameplay video of Digimon against one of my friends. So see you then.